So I'm putting this one together because I need immediate legal support in a case, or multiple cases I should say, that I need legal representation for. It's long-term personal injury, abuse, and civil rights matters that began early in my childhood and has grown in severity up to this day. And so since approximately 1988, I want to say, or earlier, I've endured what's recognized as covert, sustained targeting, including physical and chemical harm, very much suspected poisoning and a psychological warfare attack on me, hacking me, surveillance, identity theft, and emotional manipulation from multiple angles that started progressing in later years of my life due to what I had been going through in early childhood. So it stems from including family and my own dad, my brothers, and it extends into relationships that I grew up with from high school and relationships that progressed in my life later on. It was much like a kind of a ghetto scene of people trying to stake me out, stalk me in the fashion of not allowing me to be able to speak out. So I had recovered my childhood memories in the pivotal moments here later in life, involving my brothers, with when there was a female that came around, and I asked, after quite a while after, because I was sustained with these abuses from early childhood, I asked them, what did they do? What did you guys do to me? And I meant, what did you guys put into whatever I was eating or drinking or whatever that made me feel like I couldn't exist within my original self. I had a hard time speaking on that terminology back then, obviously, like I have now, but I've experienced long-term poisoning, and I know that it's a poisoning because it's a feeling you can't deny. And even if it wipes you up out of state, makes you kind of dumbfounded to what's going on in your own life, later on you do realize these things, and it was really, really hard for me to surface my thoughts and get my thoughts to my words. So oftentimes the gaslighting approach was, why can't you use your words? But I believe that after those events as an early kid, they became frightened of their own consciences coming out with what they had been doing to me, because I then thereafter experienced poisoning, and I was fighting for survival as a little kid, just not knowing where I could go to be safe. I slept under tables, slept in the closet, or I would try to get away altogether and sleep outside somewhere. But I was fighting for my survival to understand the full extent of what had been happening to me and how degradative it had been in my life, what was actually taking place in my life. And so now I'm living with what I fear is the aftermath of this abuse. My health is deteriorating. I'm trying to do everything I can to fight for it back and get my own mentality back. But the fact of the matter is that this targeting and exposure has been not acknowledged by the medical professionals, and it's trickled down by false aid schemes in order to ignore me by the institutions that should be protecting me. The police ignore me, and I'm looking for people that can represent me in a case that's leaving me in devastation. It's detrimental to me, and I believe that it's cold, calculated attacks that are leaving me in imminent dangers throughout my life. Multiple, I should say, imminent dangers for their affairs and their ways that they've taken upon my life. And so this is not a hyperbole. I am reaching out not only for legal defenses, but advocacy, medical support, and connections, hearts to hearts connections, and possibly if I can get help about the civil and criminal findings, that's what I'm after, because I've dealt with being basically placed in my body in a jail, thrown into jail, thrown into medical jails. I mean, it's just really apparent to me that these are the ways that these people wanted to move in my life. So if you or you know of any firm that can handle these kind of complex injuries in my life, the traumatic experiences of what this entails, I'm seeking out for my civil rights because they've been violated, particularly involving covert abuse and medical neglect, multi-generational harm throughout my life, that I wasn't always able to be able to speak or find what was the reasonings. But now that I have, and I believe that after, say 26 years of real hardcore studying these things, but ultimately feeling them all in my life, I believe that I'm well enough within myself to be able to do my own investigations there, as far as like being a police officer goes. And so I would deeply appreciate it if I would get the help involved where it's involving these covert abuses against me, medical neglect, and the multi-generational harm. So if you can contact me, please do so on Facebook, and we can exchange information, phone number, email, whatever needs to happen, and I can provide documentation, the witness patterns, and the past communications that have been not only stolen from me, but also my reasonings and findings with these people being very cold and calculated towards me, making it seemingly that they needed me dead before I was able to find and reach out for representation. So please, in this time, it's critical, and I hope this message finds someone willing and well-minded enough to be the bright light that's been hidden for far too long inside of my life. So again, I'm Matthew Murden, and please, if you can, support me in finding true and honorable representation concerning not only this case, but I believe I also have multiple cases concerning medical neglect or what's that called? Medical gaslighting? No, medical malpractice. Yeah, it's malpractice. And I'm not saying and suggesting that everyone colludes. I'm just saying that within the parties that have been set in stages for me to be going to, there's been some collusion, and I would just like it if somebody's able to help me investigate, get to the rock bottom of these things, and get these things out of my life, and hopefully get me the help that I need, where hopefully I don't have to be washed out of my life yet again, because my body really can't take it at this point. And I know it's like I look fine on the outside, but internally I'm dealing with things that people just don't understand. So I would really like your I really appreciate it if you looked into this in further ways to suggest that there's a lot of money to be made here, millions and millions of dollars. So if I can get your support, thanks again for being here. Peace.